Hi, my name is Al Walid Al Khaja, and I'm a senior intellectual property librarian at Qatar National Library. I'm really excited to be presenting today as part of the 24th edition of the International Conference on Electronic Publishing, which is hosted by UCL Qatar in Doha. I am speaking to you today as a librarian, but also as an open access advocate. Today, we'll be talking about the status of open access in the Arab world, and I'll be giving examples of what we are doing here in Qatar. More specifically, I will be talking to you today about initiatives from the Qatar National Library. So before getting into the fine details of the topic and the status of open access in the region, let's start from the beginning and describe what is open access. Scholarly academic publishing has been in existence for the last couple of centuries. The Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, launched in 1665, is often considered to be the first scientific journal. In its most simplistic characterization, the academic publishing cycle involves a continuous symbiotic relationship between five stakeholder communities: funding agencies, research organizations, researchers and authors, publishers, and libraries. In this symbiosis, the publisher will ensure peer review management, manuscript production, distribution, and dissemination. On the other hand, libraries would ensure the delivery of the publisher's output back to the research community. Technological advances in the last decades have given the academic and research world a facelift. Innovations in digital distribution have significantly changed scholarly communication. The development of the internet has changed the rate and the way of dissemination and discussion between academics. Moreover, electronic publishing has become the primary distribution channel, whereas the low cost of setting up electronic journals has allowed publishers to experiment with different business models and journal types. The number of journals over the years has grown. However, also in parallel, subscription fees to commercial publishers have also grown. This is Peter Super, a well-known figure in the open access world, and he will describe the issue of increasing subscription fees.
Journal prices have been increasing way above the level of inflation and well above the rate of the growth of library budgets for not just for years, but for decades, and it's been a catastrophe.
Just hours ago, Anthem College shut down.
St. Joseph's College will be closing its doors.
Island deep in debt, Dowling College is shutting its doors.
The abrupt closure leaves faculty without jobs and thousands of students scrambling to find another school.
This led to many facing paywalls, the inability to access articles because of the lack of subscription. And I'm sure you also hit a paywall.
Welcome to the world of paywalls blocking research.
Have you hit paywalls?
Absolutely.
I've definitely hit a paywall.
I hit a paywall frequently.
Have you ever hit a paywall?
Oh, yes.
I hit a paywall.
Quite often I'll find a paywall, yes.
When I was a student, I definitely hit a paywall.
I hit paywalls a lot.
How do you feel?
I feel really pissed.
So a solution to the access gap and the subscription crisis would emerge in the form of an open access publishing model, which started to develop in the 1990s. Aided by available technologies and widespread use of the internet, an official call for action eventually came in 2002 in the form of the Budapest Open Access Initiative, followed by other initiatives and declarations such as the Berlin Declaration of Open Access to Knowledge in the Sciences and Humanities. All of them called for the availability of peer-reviewed publications to be online with the smallest number of usage restrictions. So what is open access?
I have no clue.
I think open access has something to do with being able to film on campus students after they give their consent.
Free, open options to get something or whatever.
Access to free food? Free food?
But seriously, what is open access?
Open access is free, immediate, online availability of research articles with full reuse rights.
Okay, so this definition clarifies a bit what open access is, but what difference does it make? And I really like the acting in the following video.
Hello, I'm an open access article.
And I'm a closed access article. What are you? Open access?
Yeah, open access. Open access means free access to academic literature that are peer-reviewed and published just like you.
So what's the difference?
The difference is that it can be read online for free by anybody in the world.
For free? That's impossible. You have to pay if you want to read me.
Yeah, you're right. The taxpayer pays your author for writing you. They pay other scholars for peer reviews, and the publishers helps you to libraries that are also financed by the taxpayers. So what's the problem? The publisher gains the most in this, but only few people can take advantage of this knowledge financed by the public. That's why you're called closed access.
There are also many other benefits for research that is published open access. Open access means that everyone can get involved with research. When research is behind a paywall, it means we can all build on these findings. It also means policymakers can put knowledge into practice. Open access also means that businesses, small or big, can drive innovation forward. It also means that researchers can uncover new insights, from mining research to discovering new treatment targets, to paving the way for digital technologies like artificial intelligence. You have probably also heard of the different colors of open access, which can be confusing. So let's focus on the green route and the gold route.
When following the golden road, your creation is published via a publisher as an article in a journal or magazine. Work shared via a publisher can cost money. This fee is known as an article processing charge, or APC for short. The APC is to ensure your article receives the same treatment as those articles published traditionally, while allowing publishers to compensate for what they would otherwise make with subscription costs. Sometimes, the published article can then be deposited in your institution's repository, or the repository required by your discipline. Sometimes, versions of the article can be deposited into a repository for future use, even after having been published in the traditional way. This is known as the Open Access Green Road. Versions can be preprint or postprint, both author's versions or publisher's version.
So now that we have established the definition of open access, let's talk about the Arab world. The Arab world consists of 22 countries spanning a large geographical region from Morocco in North Africa to Oman in West Asia. There are more than 400 million people living in the Arab world, which makes about 5% of the global population. Several things connect the countries, from a common language, Arabic, to common geography, culture, and history. Okay, let me rewind a bit and describe the name of this presentation. The reason I'm calling it Revisited is because I gave a similar presentation more than 5 years ago, and I talked about the status of open access in the Middle East and North Africa. When approaching this conference, I was really interested to see if there was a change and whether the landscape has improved or not over the last 5 years. What is the current status of open publishing in the Arab world? To understand this, let us define some key indicators for open access success. We need open access journals, we need open access repositories, and we also need open access policies. To assess the number of local journals, we will use the Directory of Open Access Journals, or the DOAJ, which is a white list of open access journals worldwide. Today, the DOAJ has almost 15,000 listed journals from 133 different countries and provides full-text access to almost 5 million articles. Looking at local journals is important because local journals allow authors to publish local interest and also allows authors to publish in their own local language. Let's look at the numbers of journals from Arab countries. This is a plot that shows the number of journals listed in the DOAJ per country. The majority of journals are from Iraq, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE. In total, there are 185 journals listed in DOAJ from 22 different Arabic countries. This is about 1% of the total listed journals in the DOAJ. Now, this is about the same number of journals listed in some countries, such as in Canada, which has 169 journals. It is worth noting that Canada has almost 10% of the population of all Arab countries. The picture is not that great, especially if we compare the numbers to how it was 5 years ago in 2015. The blue bar here shows the number of journals per country in 2015, whereas the orange line shows the numbers in 2020. What you can see is that there has been some improvement in some countries, such as in Iraq, Algeria, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, but not really much in other countries. The most significant change has to do with Egypt, which had more than 500 journals in 2015 compared to only 31 in 2020. This probably has to do with the publisher Hindawi. According to a 2018 update, Hindawi was founded in Egypt by Ahmed Hindawi and Najwa Abdul Muttalib, but the company has moved its headquarters to London, and therefore would be considered as a UK listing in the DOAJ and not from Egypt. It is also worth mentioning that the DOAJ went through a quality assurance process in which it required all listed journals to reapply for reassessment. It is possible that many journals were no longer listed because they did not meet the requirements or because they did not reapply. Okay, let's look at journals that publish in the Arabic language. The DOAJ lists 163 journals in 2020. This is a significant increase from 2015 when it was only 27. Now at least we have a bit of good news. Okay, now let's look at the number of open access repositories, and for that we will use Open Door, which is a quality assured global directory of open access repositories. So the numbers are much less than journals, which is expected anywhere. And again, the majority of repositories are in Algeria, but we also have a significant number of repositories in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, and Sudan. In total, that's about 67 repositories from 22 countries. This is about 2% of total repositories worldwide. This is not that great of a number, especially as this is the same number in some individual countries such as Argentina, which has 2 more repositories for a total of 69. Argentina also has 1/10 of the total population of all Arab countries. However, this is still an improvement from 5 years ago when the number was 37. So at least we have 30 new repositories in 5 years. Let's look next at open access mandates. We can use the Registry of Open Access Repository Mandates and Policies, or RORMAP, to look at open access mandates and policies that are adopted by universities, research institutions, and research funders, in which researchers are required to deposit open access copies of their peer-reviewed research article in an open access repository. Now, we see that we only have 5 in 22 countries, 3 in Algeria, 1 in Saudi Arabia, and 1 in Palestine. Interestingly, these are the same countries that had a high number of repositories. We have 5 in 2020 compared to 3 in 2015. Not much of an increase. So if you look at the number of journals, repositories, and mandates, the numbers do not look good, especially that there has not been significant increases in 5 years other than the repositories. Possibly because it is less expensive to set up a repository than a journal, and repositories require less institutional support than a mandate. So it appears that there's still much to do in the road towards open access. In the region, we still need more journals. We still need more repositories, and we definitely need more policies to support open access adoption. We also need to work on correcting certain misconceptions about the quality of open access journals. We need to work on raising awareness among researchers but also institutions, and we need to improve institutional support for open access. Okay, let's now try to zoom into Qatar and talk about what Qatar is doing with open access. Qatar University established Qatar University Press, or QU Press, in 2018, and it lists several journals on its website. None, however, are listed in the directory of open access journals. Qatar University is also the home of QSpace, which is the country's only open access repository, listed in Open Door. Hamad bin Khalifa University is the home of HBQ Press and the open access publishing platform QScience. Again, it lists several journals on its website, but only 4 are listed in the DOAJ, which are the only 4 listed from Qatar. So it appears that not all journals published from Qatar are actually listed in the DOAJ. And we need to look at whether this is a simple issue of free application or if the journals do not meet criteria set by the DOAJ. In the last segment of this presentation, I'll be talking to you about Qatar National Library, where I work. The library opened its doors in 2019 and has set a mission to preserve the nation's and region's heritage and enable the people of Qatar to positively influence society by creating an exceptional environment for learning and discovery. In the library, we see open access as an essential key for us to achieve our mission. Open access is also one of the library's core values, where we are committed to free, open, unrestricted access to our collections and services. We use open access and Creative Commons licenses to license in material to our repository. and also when adding anything to the Qatar Digital Library, which is a free online digital platform that collects historical content about Qatar and the region. We also rely on open access in our electronic resources licensing. By applying the following principles, we ensure that we allow access to all authorized users. We ensure agreements that allow proper use of the content in education and research. And we also ensure that all agreements signed allow Qatar-based researchers to publish open access articles at no additional cost for researchers themselves. Now, this brings me to something that I am actually working on in the library. As part of my duties at the Qatar National Library, I oversee the management of the library's Open Access Fund. A challenge for some authors worldwide has been to overcome the price of the article processing charge, or the APC. Many publishers offer fee waivers for submissions from countries of low income, whereas many institutes are setting up funds to cover publishing costs. Now, a quick look at the DOAJ will show us that not every open access journal requires an APC. However, many publishers still charge a lot of money that our authors in Qatar need support to pay. The fund was initially set up in Open Access Week in 2015 and aimed to cover open access publishing costs for Qatar-based researchers, and also to create and contribute to the permanent archive of Qatar-based research at the library. To benefit from the service, authors in Qatar must meet certain and simple criteria. 1. They should have attempted to use any other funds available to them. 2. The corresponding author must be affiliated with a Qatar-based institution. And 3. They should publish in a journal that meets the library's criteria, primarily being listed in the DOAJ. So, by applying our electronic resources principles and following our values, we were able to establish several agreements with major publishers that allow Qatar-based researchers to publish with no additional cost to them, thus shifting the cost of publishing from the authors to institutions. We are also working on transformative agreements that shift fees paid to publishers from subscription reading fees to open access publishing fees. Using agreements started in 2018, and in 2019 we funded 455 articles authored by 268 different researchers from 18 different institutions in Qatar. This is about 40% of all articles with corresponding authors from Qatar, and our goal this year is to reach double this figure. To understand the impact of this fund, we sent a survey during Open Access Week 2019. 109 authors responded to the survey, with the majority of them using the fund in 2019. When we asked them, how did the availability of the fund influence their decision to publish the article as open access, a majority answered that it had a great influence, and that they would not have been able to afford the open access fee otherwise. This really means that we need to continue what we're doing because authors want to publish open access and need institutional support for this. We should also note that this is still a pilot program, and there's a lot to think about, and there's more work to do with publishers to improve services, and also to get more institutional support in Qatar. However, I believe that the landscape of open access in Qatar does look more positive than it did 5 years ago, and it shows that authors in Qatar do appreciate open access, but they just need more support from their libraries, institutions, and local publishers. I can also say that in Qatar, when it comes to open access, it's not a question of how anymore, but a question of when. With that note, I'd like to end this presentation, and I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to any questions you may have.